what is maybe, let's say, the 2-year vision and the 10-year vision for
Mm.
Solana Mobile? So say it takes you another 2 years to make the next Solana phone.
Yeah.
What do you want that to look like? And then in 10 years, like, where are you hoping that this ecosystem and platform and everything you're building will be at that point?
So over the next 2 years, we need to have at least one other phone that we didn't make carrying this platform. So that could be a brand name smartphone. That could be a brand you already know. It could be a brand you already own. But you should be able to get access to all of the great apps that have been built for this platform. And you should be able to transact super easily and super securely. So that's my next 2 years. Like whether or not we make another phone, what it looks like when it launches, I'm frankly not even thinking too much about that yet, because I think Seeker's got a good little bit of time before we need to really start asking ourselves those hard questions. And I'm frankly spending way more time on working with other hardware partners than I am speccing our next phone. So that's over the next 2 years. And then I think if you just naturally carry that forward over 10 years, it's that on steroids. It would be, my expectation would be that you can bring versions of the Solana mobile platform to any device or almost any device. And doesn't even have to be phones, right? It can be other types of smart devices. I think the idea that devices can join a network permissionlessly and get access to distribution and assets on the network and all of that feels compelling and is worth continuing to pursue. If we don't make another phone again, I won't lose a night of sleep. But if the distribution of this platform ends with Seeker, I will. And so that's really just going to be our focus for the next 2 years and the next 10 years. And honestly, over the next 10 years, if my team doesn't change size, I think that's a good thing. I think if we stay small and we stay punchy and the ecosystem steps up in the same way that Solana and its ecosystem stepped up, where Labs and Foundation and all those organizations didn't need to go crazy from a hiring perspective, I think we'll very much be in the same boat. If to succeed, we need to double our team and double our team and double our team, something's wrong. The whole purpose of this is that we're taking less the front seat and instead serving up a platform and saying like, go nuts. Hardware manufacturers, go nuts. Builders, go nuts. Users, go nuts. So that's the next 2 to 10 years.
Okay, that's really interesting. How are you thinking about bringing new devices into this network? Is it, hey, I'm a struggling upstart glasses wearable startup, and Solana is gonna, provide some incentives and some help integrating, and maybe you find new distribution from joining this network? Or is it you're trying to find people who from the ground up are going to build new devices and then add them to the network that way?
Preferably more the former than the latter, actually.
Okay.
I think long term, this whole thing makes more sense if it's organically coming to devices that people are already familiar with and on. I think the idea that we can just continue to sell crypto enabled hardware products, like we will eventually have saturated the market, right? Like it's not quite big enough that there's enough people on the planet who care enough to specifically buy a phone that we release. We can keep doing that. Like we've got an audience. We'll continue to exceed their expectations with the hardware that we build. But like that to me feels very finite, like what we can continue to do there. So instead going and saying, there will certainly be some in the second category, which are like, oh, we see an opportunity to solve a very specific market's crypto hardware needs. We'll be super happy to work with those teams. But the audience of builders, of hardware builders who are just focused on building devices that meet most of users' needs to then supercharge those with hopefully simpler and more secure crypto solutions over time. I think that probably opens the most doors and creates the most entry points to this growing pie.
Are there that many devices out there? Like I'm just thinking.
There's more than you think.
Okay.
It's a very it's like a very US centric phenomenon that there's like so few phones.
Yeah.
It's like crazy. It's, here it's like a couple iPhones, maybe a few Galaxies if you're like feeling crazy, and like maybe you'll see a Pixel once or twice. It's crazy narrow. I mean, if you even walk into like a telco store, like if you walk into a Verizon store or a T-Mobile store, there's usually like 30 plus devices on display, which seems crazy because then you like ride the train and like hang out with people in the office and it's like 1 or 2 phones. But when you leave the United States, it is crazy diverse. It's like hundreds of devices, like all sorts of weird innovation, tons of price points to go down to basically free with your carrier up to $2,000 for sort of ornate foldables. There's a really, really wide spectrum of devices out there. And for us, Seeker, less than 20% of the sales have been in the US. Yeah. So it's like, we're a global company. Like we're focused on, while we're based in the US, our growth opportunities and like the areas where this can be taken and really run with are as global as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such an interesting through line I didn't really expect, but I was just thinking through that as you were speaking, like, oh yeah, he also mentioned that the phone comparatively didn't really get sold as much in the US. So America's just cooked, I guess.
Yeah, we've tapped out. It's it. It's a wrap, folks.